Charged everyone. It's £4 for today. I think it's about it. Right, what's today about? Patrick has come from Belgium, and you have to appreciate he's come all the way from Belgium for fish and chips and a pizza. That's all he's getting out of this.
I do that sort of thing. I like going to New York for lunch.
Yeah. Yesterday we had Brian Gerry from the UK column come for nothing, and this is the quality of people we're working with. Why? Because the message that we're giving out is so important. It is so important. The money is irrelevant. Any money today will hopefully get Patrick's bus fare home, because he hasn't even got his bus fare home yet.
Can I say?
You might have to.
You'd rather come by train, wouldn't you, Patrick?
For me, at a personal level, this is going to hopefully answer questions today that started when I was 15, which I was at school, I loved it, I was doing well, and when I was 15 in the last year, I just said, why am I doing it? What's the point? And I stopped getting what was the point. I used to nip out of classes, skive off, because I didn't understand why. And throughout the whole of my life, I've been in jobs 2 years and left because why am I doing it? Didn't know, so I moved. Why am I doing it? And I didn't know, so I moved. What's the point? Who am I and what is the point? And there's a few of us in this room, it's not me, there's a few of us in this room who've been working together for about 6 years on elements of things that are wrong in society. And Patrick nudged us a bit forward last time with the nature of genetics, and we're not victims of our genes and the power we actually have over how our genes are expressed. This weekend was pretty hard going yesterday, but basically Patrick's saying actually over our health we have the power. We do have the power. And Brian was saying actually there are people who want to take that power away, and they bring in doctors to take that power away. Whereas the only doctor you have is you. That's the only doctor you have. There is no other one. So today is about, we had a meeting about a month ago talking about slavery, and there's two aspects to slavery. One is you physically can't do the things that you can do because of rules and regulations, etc. We're being suppressed. But we also talked about the prisons of the mind. Aldous Huxley talks about the prisons of the mind. And now, you may not be in prison, but you can be totally and completely enslaved. Because you don't know who you are, you haven't got control of your thoughts. And we also shown that there are people out there trying to manipulate our thoughts. Because if you manipulate the thoughts of the person, you have the person. So today, this is about taking back our power by taking and understanding our thoughts. So I don't want to go anymore because that's about it. I'll leave it to Patrick.
Thank you. Alright. Yeah. Very often, even, as a doctor, that's obvious, but even when you stop doctoring, people go and see a therapist and basically you want somebody else to tell you what you need to do. And over the years, I'm refusing to do that more and more. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Why? Because, really, I don't know. You may know a lot of things, but you can't know everything. And it would be a shame to follow my advice because it works for most people, and then it turns out that it doesn't work for you. What a waste of time and energy. The point is, everybody should follow advice and should get results from that advice. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but hopefully by the time we leave here this afternoon, you will know what to do and how to do it. Opinions. Why have I chosen that? Because we walk past it. We are not aware, or not enough aware, of the value of opinions and the root of opinions. In other words, where did it come from? Yeah? You think, I think, that my opinions are my own. Yeah? Well, we need to find out whether that is the case. And if that is the case, and if that's not the case, it's the same thing. Where do my opinions come from? Why do I have these opinions? Because I've noticed, as you probably have, that for every conflict there is, both sides are always right. Not when you put them together in a room, yeah, but when you go and listen to one side, they'll give you their opinion and they give you the reasons for their opinion. And then you climb over the wall and you go to the other side and you listen and they're right too. How did that happen? In order to understand where opinions come from, opinions are your own, okay? They belong to the person that you are and the situation that you're in. In order to understand how opinions are part of you, you need to know how you've been put together. Because the opinions are part of you, therefore they must be part of how you've been put together. There are two forms. One is a human being has got an opinion, but there are two types, or two levels. One is you become a human being. All human beings have opinions, which means that as the formation of human beings occurs, there must already be a link to opinion. And then we all have different opinions. So where does the difference come from? So, formation of the human being, how are we formed? And then we look at how that affects the individual. And from that, we need to deduce how opinions are formed. Where did it come from? And then, of course, it's, am I aware that I'm expressing an opinion? Or do I believe that the whole world thinks like that? Yeah? Very often, the argument I hear for the reasons that I'm wrong is, but everybody knows this. Yeah? And that stops the discussion. And I go, whoa, wait. Not everybody. I, for one, don't know that that is true. So therefore, I would like you to rephrase that. Everyone, except one, knows this is true. Yeah? Okay, let's see how far we get. Formation of the human being. Genetics. We live in a time where the medical profession is eager to tell you that it's in your genes. Everything is in your genes. And every week they tell you something else is in your genes. Yeah? And every time they come out with something, I say, I hope so. Because I'm a human being. I'm formed as a human being. So everything that is part of being a human being should be in the coded form of me. In other words, my genetic material. Of course it should be in there. That occurs or that relates to the fact that each one of us has the potential to be a murderer. So, find the murderer gene. We said yesterday, the medical, I don't call it science, the medical investigation starts from the theory, a theory, and then they set out to prove it. They throw away all the evidence they find, all the observations that they find that doesn't prove it, throw that away, pick out the bits that they like, and then come out with a report saying, there you are, smoking causes lung cancer, or whatever their theory is. So, if you set out to find the gene, the genetic material, that proves that you're a murderer, you'll find it. Yeah. You'll find a method. You'll find a series of agreements on which you do the investigation, and then you'll find a gene. There you go. There. That gene. Listen to the real words that they're using. They say this gene is linked to breast cancer. This gene is linked to diabetes. They don't say this gene is breast cancer. It's linked to. Well, that's easy. That's really easy because everything in life is linked to everything. So you could make that statement for anything you like. Well, no you can't. Yes you can. Yes you can. My sore throat can be linked to the fact that I got angry at my wife, but I didn't say anything. Could also be linked to the fact that I had some tomatoes last night. It could be due to the fact that I forgot to drink my glass of water this morning. Tell me it isn't linked to that. You can only know that it isn't linked to that if you investigate it. And we don't. We don't investigate all these links. So, you can always say that. In the genes, what is actually in the genes? The gene is the most condensed part of a living cell. What is in those genes? In the genes is a code. Everybody agrees with that? There we go. Everybody knows. The medical profession tells us it's a code for life. So it's a code. Okay. What is in that code? In that code, it turns out, we had this earlier in the year, where I explained and showed why this is. In the genetic information, or we need the genetic information, because in there, it gives all the basic information, right from the beginning of the universe, the creation of the universe, throughout creation of the plants, creation of the egg-laying animals, creation of the mammals, creation of the human beings. Why do I know that? Because when you look at the way a human being, all human beings, are being formed, you have conception. Right? We're not going to go into details, but I form a human cell. The genetic code for that person that will eventually emerge from that is in that first cell. Right? What happens then? For 12 weeks, the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, this cell will start to develop. Yes? In this development, when we look at the shape of the fetus, and when we look at the formation, this human fetus, all human fetus, goes through the shape of a bean, changing to the shape of a fish, changing to the shape of a monkey, and then between 10 and 12 weeks we go, oh look, it's human. The whole evolution of the universe is condensed in the first 12 weeks of the fetal development. Every human being goes through that stage. There is nothing anybody can do to alter that. Whether you're Chinese, whether you're black, whether you're whatever, that's just the phases that you move through. Once you've created the basic shape of the human being, you've used up 93% of the DNA information. why we recognize all human beings, wherever on earth, as human beings. There's no mistaking. I know. Some of us may look to you as apes, and some you may want to compare with pigs, but you do recognize them as human beings. And that is because we have that genetic code. In the code lies the basis of what will develop. Every seed from every plant has got a genetic code which predetermines that seed to develop into that particular plant. It can't be anything else. It can't be anything else. So that is where your genetic code was, the reason for your genetic code. So the whole of the history is recorded in that. After 12 weeks development, we come back to that, it starts to develop in a different way. So, that means that, first of all, it gets you to that point of becoming a human shape, a human form. After that, there is still a bit more information that comes out of, or that is expressed from the genes. And that is, when you look at human beings, and you go in detail, look at their form, then you see that human beings, for instance, that live by the coast, that they have certain characteristics that you don't find in human beings who live way up in the Andes. They're different. They're different because they live in different environments. And so, what I'm talking about here is human beings that come out of human beings that have lived in certain conditions. In other words, I don't talk about the mix-up of races and so on and so forth. Go back 100, 150 years, people lived in their village, grew up in their village, and if they were lucky, they met a girl from the next village, and so the incest could stop. That was as far as it went, more or less. That's what I'm talking about, same area. There were very few people, there were people, obviously, but there were very few people, relatively speaking, very few people that moved around an awful lot. So, each region has its particular characteristics, and it makes sense. Right? Just think about it. If you were Norwegian, there wouldn't be any point in being born with a black skin, a dark skin. Why not? Because a dark skin keeps the heat, or more particular, the particular frequencies from the sun rays out of your inner system. Why? Because it would heat you up. And if it's constantly hot, you would overheat. So, when you come from a tribe, from a group of people that live near the equator, you need a black skin, you need a dark skin. When you're Norwegian, you don't want that, because you die, you'll freeze to death inside. What you need when you're a Norwegian is to be as open as you possibly can to any sun ray that comes in. Absorb it and warm up. Yeah? Hence the difference. When I watch the Canadians or people in Alaska, and you have these documentaries and springtime arrives, and the sun rises in the sky, blue sky, beautiful lake, and they go, it's springtime, it's 12 degrees centigrade, and they take off their clothes and they jump into the water and they go, oh my God, and they go, it's lovely, yeah, great. They can do that. I can't, and black person, Scrooge has died. Yeah? Because he needed to be warmer on the outside continually, otherwise he would freeze. So all of that. So the region, the geography is important. That is linked in to the code in the genetic material. Why? Because everybody who lives there, and so the new people that are arriving, they will all need that information. So therefore, it is expressed right from the start. On top of that, within the group like that, we know there are certain family characteristics. Yeah? There are certain physical characteristics. You go, oh yeah, I know who your father is. You've got the same ears as he's got. It's obvious. Yeah? It's amazing characteristics. Just come to mind. In Belgium, well, the region that I come from in Belgium, Carnival is a big thing there. And so on the Monday evening, Carnival night. So everybody goes out in the street and they all have masks and they're all dressed up and nobody's recognizable. Yeah? And I remember my sister and her husband, they both independently, got dressed up and masked on and whatever, and so they didn't know what they looked like, and disappeared. Okay. In the evening, we're standing outside the pub, drinking, and people around everywhere, and people walking past on the other side of the street. And we're looking at a guy. I went, that's him. That's your husband. Why? Because he walks just like his father does. It's quite obvious. Can't be anybody else. 10,000 of people around. That's the guy. I don't even need to see his face or what he's wearing, just the way he stands. Characteristics of family groups. Also mental characteristics. Some families have short fuses. Some families operate in a different way. These basic characteristics are passed on in the genes. And then you have a few bits, not very many, that directly come from your parents. That you get from your parents. You get far more from your parents in a different way. This is how it goes. The first 10 weeks, that development is undisturbed. So there is nothing that will change that. Not even the doctor saying to you, the first 12 weeks are the most vulnerable for the embryo. So drinking, smoking, joints, all of that, out. Because you're going to kill your baby. No, you don't. There's nothing you can do about it. And I know it for sure, because I've seen it so many times. In my practice, because we lived in a small, that's the excuse, we lived on a small island, there's very little to do, so you drink. Right? Albany is known as the island where 2,000 drunks cling to the rocks. That's basically what it is. Okay? So, what do you get? Monday morning surgery, young woman comes in, sits down, and says, doctor, I did a test, and I'm pregnant. And you go, oh, great, congratulations, great, fantastic. And she starts crying. You go, oh God, what have I done now? Yeah? Okay, she starts crying. She says, yes, but I didn't know I was pregnant. No, okay, fine. Yeah. Well, she said, no, I only found out this morning. But last Friday night, we went out, got stupidly drunk. When I woke up on Saturday, after lunch, we had a few joints, we went out, family party, and so it's finished, early Sunday morning, and now I've damaged my baby. I didn't want to, but now I've damaged my baby. And you go, well, tell you what, there's nothing we can do, is there? So, I think you damaged your baby, but hey, what can I do? So the only thing we can do is wait and see. Hope for the best. Go to church, light a candle, I don't know. There's nothing we can do. That happens quite often. Well, quite often. That has happened more than once. None of those babies have had any defects whatsoever. None. Where the defect, if you want to talk about, drug use and alcohol and all that sort of stuff, where do the defects come in? Later in pregnancy, when you continue to use toxic materials. Then the development is disturbed. Yes, you do get a lot of spontaneous abortions, miscarriages. In the first 12 weeks. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you as you are now. It has to do with the development or the expression of that genetic material to form the human form. If that is impossible, for whatever reason, not viable, the whole thing is aborted. Start again. You first need to have a human form before you can start developing the human form. The fetus grows after that. The fetus is fed by the mother. Medical profession agrees with that. Okay. Why? Because all feeding of all kinds comes from your environment. The environment is where we go and get our food. Whatever we happen to think about as food, it comes from the environment. So the environment of the developing fetus is mother. Can't argue with that because the damn thing lives inside her. Can't get away from it. Right? So the fetus gets fed by the mother. Whatever the mother is consuming, taking in, is what the fetus feels, hears, smells, lives on. And I mean whatever the mother is taking in. Life is far more about non-material things than material things. So it's less to do with what mother eats and drinks than it is to do with what mother feels, what she experiences, where her fears lie. That is what feeds the fetus. Why is that so important in that stage? Because that basic human form that we formed after 12 weeks develops. It literally grows. So there's more material being put down, and that material has the information from whatever it is that is feeding it. So whatever the mother is feeling at that time, whatever her situation is, literally builds that particular person. It literally sits in the tissues of that particular person. So every cell of that fetus, the core of which is built, is what the mother is experiencing at that time. When that baby becomes a baby, when it's born, not much changes. The baby is still in a growth process and is feeding itself on its environment. naturally, or the natural environment, initially is, the first place, mother. Right? Because mother is still feeding the baby. And I'm saying natural process, so it's breastfeeding, and it's looking after the baby, making sure the baby is safe, and it's been looked after and fed. But the baby gets direct contact with others, father, siblings, the dog, the in-laws, everything else that comes into play. So the environment around the baby is opening up as it grows. But it's the same system. The growth depends on the environment, one. And two, the information from the environment is transformed into matter. The baby grows up into a format and a functioning human being which is based on the information it gets from its environment. So, basically, there are two important parts. One is, people have got talents. Yeah? They sit in the genetic material, if you like. They go way back. They're talented for certain things. Which also means that they have the physical and mental skills to do that. Talent can be anything, it can be a musical thing, but it could also be that somebody is talented in the high jump. You never see an Olympic champion high jump with short legs. Yeah? You don't. And you have very few people with short legs being frustrated because they can't become an Olympic champion high jump. Why not? They're not interested in high jump. They're interested in other things. They have other talents. They have other skills. The skills are sitting in their body and in their mind. It's the same thing. They're connected. With all this, the individual, all matter in the universe is a compression of energy. It starts off with an energetic field in which the pressure increases and or the temperature is lowered. When you do that, the energy becomes less fluid, less movable. It becomes more static. If you continue to do that at the center of that energy field, you create the static part of that energy field. Static part is matter. So, it's no different for human beings. A human being, every individual, is an energetic field. The body of that human being sits at the center of that field and is the most compressed part of who that person is. So, an individual is an energetic field with a body. There are lots of energetic fields without matter. Yeah? Matter in the universe only takes up a very small amount of the whole space. The matter comes into being because the energy field, the information that is in the energy, is fixed. Okay? So it creates a structure. That is your body. But before you become a body, before you become any matter, you already exist as a field. And that field has certain characteristics. It functions in a particular way. It has some ingredients and it misses something, or it hasn't got something. So, put it differently, or put it more concretely, if you were to become a child of a tribe living near the equator, you would, in your energetic field, there would be information to say that you needed a dark skin. If you were to become a child from a Scandinavian family in Scandinavia, in your energetic field, there would be information to say that you needed a very pale skin. That information is there, and eventually, if and when you become a physical human being, that information is put down into the structure, i.e. into my body. When you want to change either the function or the structure of the body, or of the matter, then you need to change the energetic information of that field. You cannot change physical matter without changing the energetic field. You first need to change the energy in the field before the matter can change, because that is where the information starts to be pushed inwards towards the matter. Example is the champagne glass on the table, and not that I can do it, but the voice of Ella Fitzgerald hitting a particular note, right? And we're all sitting and watching the glass. And at a certain point it goes BAM! And it just blows apart. Only as a result of the influence of the frequency, the voice of Ella Fitzgerald. Here are two things are important. One, the structure of the glass. That glass has a particular form. It is kept together by resonance. It's frequencies that have been pushed together and that turn out in this particular form. The voice creates a vibration which hits a particular energetic vibration that is part of the physical structure. It puts it out of its normal tune, and with that the whole physical structure falls apart. In human terms, before the structure blows apart, if we were to measure the vibration of the champagne glass, we would already start to notice on our measuring system that it was under a lot of pressure. In other words, first the function changes. If you keep that going for long enough, the structure changes of the matter. Human bodies, meaning when the information in your energy field starts to change, your system comes under pressure, the functioning becomes much more difficult. It becomes much more difficult to keep it all together. If the pressure on the outside continues, eventually my system, my physical system, will break down, fall apart. The fetus takes in information from the environment. The information is energy. The information, the energy, is transformed into the matter. So, a baby or fetus ready to be born is not a blank sheet of paper. It's the very base is filled with information of the universe. It is a human being, and it comes into a human energy field. On top of that, the matter. So So literally the physical structure of that baby is built on the energy that the mother has gone through in all those weeks. Therefore, no two babies can ever be the same. Because no two pregnancies are ever the same. Because your environment changes. Your first baby, that you and your husband, and maybe you've got a career or whatever. Your second baby, your life is different. Your 11th baby, come on, it's different. You are different because you may be a year or you may be 5 years older. That in itself is different. Because you've learned a lot of things and you've changed your life. But it's different. So no two babies get the same information. When the baby is born, the same thing repeats itself, only then it's not just the mother's information. But here is an interesting thing. Don't ask me how anybody has been able to do this, but it has happened, it has been recorded. Right? I'm going to explain it. Look. EEG, electroencephalogram. This is an investigation whereby you put some electrodes on the skull and you measure the electrical activity of the brain. Yeah? So the waves that you can pick up from the brain function. That is used in neurology. Okay? Fine. No problem. No problem. These investigations, you do this when people have got some neurological problem. For instance, epilepsy and so on, and you see disturbed brainwaves. It's the same sort of thing as they do with your ECG, where they record the electrical activity of your heart. When you started with this, when you start doing this sort of research and put some electrodes on somebody's head and go, oh, we'll just see what this does, you can imagine this. You can't just go out into the street and say to people, hey, come here, I've got some fun things to do with you, No, these are laboratory assistants. Yeah? So people that know what is happening and what have you, and they go, just see how this goes. And the first thing, the recording gave a particular pattern. And it gave waves, it showed waves between 8 and 12 hertz. Particular frequency, never mind. Particular frequency, and that is why they're called alpha waves, because these were the first waves that were recorded, and the first letter of the Greek alphabet. So, alpha waves. These are the waves that we now know occur when the person is conscious and calm, at peace, at rest. Nice. When you start stimulating the person, through all kinds of sensory information, doesn't matter, you can show them disturbing pictures or you can make them read a book or whatever. So the next set brings up a different set of waves with a frequency between 12 and 35 hertz, and we call it beta waves. Fine. Okay. So these are waves that occur when a person is active. And when you then really push him to the maximum, the wave frequency of the brain goes up to over 35 hertz. The gamma waves. Okay. Once we've established that, we think it's quite interesting. We now start to use this in medical practice, medical research and so on, and use it as study material. We then start to think about, now we've got a comatose person. What kind of brain waves would she have? So we start measuring that. And we find that in a very deep coma, we have brain waves between half a hertz and 4. In other words, the frequency comes down. Your brain slows down in activity, but there's still activity left in a deep coma. Call that delta waves. And in between the 4 to 8 hertz, the theta waves are comatose, but you may still get some responses. That is your EEG information. For some weird, unknown, unexplained reason, there have been recordings of babies and small children. And this is what they found. On the whole, children of the age below 2 years, their average brain waves show up as between half a hertz and 4 hertz. Between the age of 2 and 6, it's 4 to 8 hertz. Their main brain waves. Right? What does that mean? Well, our interpretation of these brain waves is that my child, below the age of 2, is in deep coma. As far as I can remember, my daughter was not in a deep coma during that time. We had a lot of things to do with her. Yeah? Between the age of 2 and 6, they present with brain waves where they're still comatose, or there would be comatose brain waves for an adult. When we're in coma, what does that mean? It means that we don't come out ourselves. We can't communicate. We can't express ourselves. Yeah? We can't even move our body. Can't even do that. So, in other words, there's nothing coming out. That's basically what comatose means. Just like that. Nothing coming out. But we do know that with comatose people, there is still stuff going in. Hence, not so much the doctors, because they're not interested in that, but particularly the nurses will say to you, take his hand, squeeze it. He will know that you're there. Talk to him. He will know that you're there. Yes, play some music. He will hear it. Why would it say that? Because they have the experience that there's still stuff going in. 2, some people have come out of these comatose situations and they confirm that. They can tell you what has happened around them. And you go, whoa, how did you know? You were asleep, mate. Pretending. I know what was said, I would know who was there, and so on and so forth. So, information goes in. What does that then mean? It means that between the age of 0 and 6, a child is soaking up information, and it's not really expressing anything, much, of what has been stored. It just simply soaks it all up. Think about it and you watch carefully, you will notice. My daughter said to me, when her kid was very young, do you know what she said? She told me, and she said, I don't know where she's getting that from. And I went, really? You say that too. No, I don't. Yes, you do. You do. She copies you. Everything. To the point, now, once you realise that, now we start to observe that. or since then, we start to observe that. Come in. And it's true. You know, the little one talks to the dog and behaves to the dog the same way as mum behaves to her. Same voice, same expression, same finger. She stands the way mum stands. Everything. It's a sponge. It soaks up that energy. And don't forget, at that age, when it's a growth process, growth as in the material is growing, then that information put into the matter. And the matter is built that particular way. Yeah? So they're just sponges. It soaks up information and it just copies it. There is no questioning why. Yeah? The child doesn't know any better. It just does it. It uses the words that her environment uses those expressions, and when they start going to school, you can see a development. They come home with words that you go, not in this house. You go, right. They learn, yeah? They don't use the words in your house, but from the moment the door closes behind them, there they go, because it's okay out there. That's how it goes. The information is soaked up and used. The information is also turned into the matter, which means that your child is actually physically preparing itself for the most important things in their life. They're hardening themselves for whatever the dangers are in their outside world, and they're opening themselves up to the talents that have been supported by the family. Here is the difference. Child may have a particular talent, whether it's drawing or making music or singing, or it doesn't matter what it is. When the parents have no connection with that particular part of life, and no musical inspiration, for instance, you've got to go to school, you've got to have a good report, and you've got to have an academic career and all this sort of stuff, then that child can never completely develop its talent. So it remains hidden. Where do you find that then? When that child becomes 45, 50, 55, has kicked the kids out of the door and goes, what do I really want to do? They find it, and then they develop. The other story is the kid has a talent and is born in a family where that talent is nurtured and stimulated. It actually grows matter that will prepare it to express that talent even better. So the child will become a better violinist than dad. That child will become a better footballer than dad. Because it's got the raw talent and it's been nurtured from the beginning. But that nurturing is actually materialized. Extreme cases, you get stories like Mozart and whatever, 5 years in composing his own music on the piano, and you go, whoa, what's this? It's such a big talent that you can't suppress it. Yeah? So we're building machines, if you like, human beings, that are completely adjusted to their environment. The talent also is, it's also a talent, is surviving your environment. So if you're born into a favela, in Rio de Janeiro or whatever, you need to know. You need to know how that functions. And if you're really good at it, then you'll not only survive it, but you'll outgrow it. You'll have the potential to become something else. But the child is just a mirror of its environment. Okay, So what are the opinions of that child? Well, basically, there is information held in the tissues. In other words, it's part of the makeup of a person. Where would that express itself? That would, for instance, express itself in the knowledge that your neighbours, as in, a nation, that your neighbours are not as clever as you are, that you can beat them in sport, that they are stupid, that whatever. We do that in Belgium, in the north of Belgium, the Flemish part of Belgium. We make jokes about how stupid the Dutch are and how greedy the Dutch are. If you go across the border, you'll hear exactly the same jokes. Not about them, about us. Right? These are opinions that we basically hold in our structure. We all have that. Within a nation, there are various groups of people, and you'll find the same things there. That the North doesn't like the South, and that the West doesn't like the East, and so on and so forth. These are deeply ingrained opinions, meanings. On top of what is deeply ingrained in your system is everything that you've learned. Everything that you've learned. And that is an awful lot. If you grow up 0 to 6 and you're constantly being told that you're no good, that you're rubbish at this, that and the other, that you're clumsy, that you're a nuisance, that you're unwanted, right? You will have that with you for the rest of your life. It's almost impossible to get rid of that. Because every cell in your body vibrates on that level. If on the other hand, when you're 12, a teacher tells you that you're no good at maths and that you shouldn't be in this school, you may go, I'll show you, mate. I'll show you. Why? Because by that time, you're starting to develop your own opposition, your own interpretation of things, and you don't always agree with anything anymore. You have a much easier choice. But, nevertheless, repeated information will still enter your energy field. It won't sit in your cells, but it will sit in your energy field. And if you're constantly surrounded by a particular message, it will have a strong impact of what you think and what you feel. So, for instance, if you have a group of people that you put down, that you oppress, that you don't give opportunities, that information will get stronger and stronger and stronger in that group of people. But since they're not 0 to 6-year-olds, be prepared, because they'll hit back. They'll take so much, absorb so much, till there is no living space left, and it will burst open. Always. Because it's a living system. So those convictions that you actually feel, when you grow up, being told you're nobody or nothing, and then something at work, when you're 35, and something at work goes wrong, and somebody slams a file on the table and goes, oh, you, for God's sake, why didn't you do this, or why didn't you see that? You know nothing. It goes, whoa, right deep down, and you shrivel up. Your reaction pattern is set by the pattern on which you've been built. If you now think about when you've had a major explosion occur in front of you. And you go, whoa, what happened? You know, they totally lost it. I only said, you know, dear, why didn't you put that over there? That would have been easy. And she exploded in my face and I got everything in the world poured over me. Why? That is nothing to do with a disagreement on the issue. That is to do with pressing a button, opening a channel way deep down inside you, and every cell in that body starts to rebel. That's your explosion. Tiny little event which creates a massive response. That comes deep from within the tissues. These are held opinions, right? And if you're capable, because once you get a volcano coming over you like that, it's very difficult to stand there and listen very carefully and clearly. But if you do, then you hear them express that. You know? You think I'm worth nothing. You don't value me. What? Yeah. Yesterday I bought you chocolate, I bought you some flowers, you know. We went to the movies. What do you mean I don't care for you? No, that's not true. The more you say, the worse it gets. Yeah? Don't do that. Stand there, listen carefully, and realize this is not about your finger on the button. This is where that leads to. And you get the whole thing coming back at you. Her whole life comes back at you. The whole frustration on this particular issue comes back at one point. That is a rooted opinion. In this case, an opinion of herself. Yeah? That is important. What you learn afterwards, that doesn't go so deep. Yeah? And you can grow up in a community that hates the Irish, to say one thing, right? That's fine. And you, as a youngster, you're spearheading this movement. You know? You bash everything that is Irish. And then things happen in your life, and you grow up, and you get a bit older, and you get to meet a few Irish people for the first time in your life. And you go, oh, he's pretty funny. Well, nothing wrong with the guy. Oh, he's okay. Yeah. And then you go, all Irish are accepted. And that's where your system starts to repossess your opinion. You start to reevaluate. And you can change it. Sometimes you can trace things back and go, oh, wait a minute. What I feel now, how I'm responding now, that is due to what this particular teacher done to me at that particular time. Okay, that was then, I don't need it anymore, change it. Right? Or, this is the difference. I used to say, yeah, whatever was wrong in my life, I used to say, blame it on mother. Yeah? I felt very good about that, because ultimately it was all her fault. You know, from the design to the production. It was all her fault. And it worked. Yeah? It worked. So blame it all on mother. But once you get to a stage when you get a bit older, people go, you know, my mother this and my mother that, and she never did, and she never did, and so on and so forth. And I'd say to them, well, okay, why don't you go and have a word with your mother and just, a quiet voice, tell her this. And they go, wish I could. Mum died 12 years ago. Oh, okay. So, now you're stuck with your opinion. This is how you've experienced it. This is how you're still expressing it. It hurts yourself. It makes it very difficult to function. And there's nothing you can do to change it anymore. Because Mum isn't there. Well, The physical part of mum isn't there, but the energy is still around you because you've taken up that energy and you've formed your body on that energy. You can change it, but you've got to go deep to change it. Those are the two parts, and as you work with it, you'll find out. The bits that are lying on top, you can shove, you can rearrange, and you go, oh no, I no longer believe that. Yeah? The Irish are okay. They're okay. You know? They're good people. The Palestinians are good people. The Syrians are good people. Yes? Whatever. You can change your opinion. Other things, when it's about pressing buttons, try and stop it. Yeah? Just go and do that. Yeah? Realize that he only asked a question, or he only did one little thing, and your whole world explodes. Stop it. And people say, I wish I could. I don't feel good about it, but I can't stop it. No, because it's so powerful, because it comes from so deep in your earth, in your matter. Right? The two are different. The formation of the human body fixes some information. If you touch that, it explodes. The human energy field. Every human being has an energy field, and the body sits at the center of that field. An energy field is quite easy to disturb that, to change it. Think in terms of the energy field as the atmosphere. You know, the wind blowing. The clouds forming and then opening up again. That's how easy and how quickly things can change within the energy field. Now the problem with your individual energy field is that those energy lines go all the way into your system, into your physical bodily system. So it's like a crane. You know, the further away you go from the fixed point, the more flexibility you have. In other words, the more it changes position with the wind blowing. Yes, other information coming in. That is true, but it can never completely change. So in other words, your experiences as a very young child, you cannot erase. It is what it is. Simple things to think about, not that we all experience that, but I'm talking about these very young ages. Yeah? So, adoption. Or, say for instance, premature, or a baby born and having serious health problems and being separated from the mother. Not for 1 or 2 days, but for weeks, months on end. Have a look. As an adult, they'll have separation fears. They'll always think about something, they very easily think about losing something. And how bad that feels. How much fear that creates. You can't erase that. You can become aware of it, but it sits in your system. So that human energy field, you can alter, but it's not free. The whole human field is a lot freer. That information can change very quickly, really. You know? And the only thing we need is the information being focused and directed to us. How does that occur? Well, you may grow up with an idea that a particular thing is good for you, and then one day you get a program on the television and your newspaper tells you this is bad for you. It has changed. The energy field, the human energy field, the human belief system, as a group, has changed. And they do this to control groups. Yeah? Going to Iraq to create a war, not a good idea. You shouldn't do that. There's a huge wave of people that just knew, within the space of a week, 10 days, they turned it around. They throw things at you. You start to, people start to believe that there is a good reason to alter their opinion and therefore their actions. Now, we need to be able to do something with this, because it's the interaction of the environment with our own personal energy field that starts to have an effect on the function of my system, my body, and if I'm not careful, break up the structure. So, I need to become aware of the influences of the outside energy field on my own personal energy field. My own personal energy field is fixed in who I am. I can't be anybody else. I can make some changes, but I can't be anybody else. Okay. That observation point is called consciousness. Observe. Find out where that is and what you, on the surface of your energy field, if you like, on the surface, what do you feel? What do you see? How do you experience that? You have the human energy field. All humans live within that and are created within that. All the individuals. And from that individual energy field, we turn into a conscious body, human being. What we become conscious as a human being. Yeah? Because your consciousness is expressed in your physical being. It's that place of exchange where things become very important. Why? Because here things are fixed. The physical structure is fixed. I can train my muscles a bit, yeah? But I'm made in a particular way. Meaning, I may have weak muscles on my shoulders and strong muscles on my legs. I can train them a bit, but I can never completely switch it around. I may have been born and grown up with a weak liver function. I can train it a bit, but I can never drink as much as my neighbour. You don't know my neighbour, but I can tell you drink so much. So, that's what I mean. Here it's fixed. Everything that is flexible, a bit flexible, or more flexible, I can work with. But once it starts affecting the fixed bit, and I start jiggling with that, the chances are that I'll break it. From the moment I get out of balance, I have an illness. From the moment that illness can no longer contain everything in its position, in its fixed position, I break down. My kidneys go, my liver goes, my pancreas stops working, whatever. It breaks down. My joints start to break down. The physical structure breaks down. Because it has nowhere to go. So, the effects of opinion. The fixed information comes from the environment. I build a structure, and that structure has a certain belief system. Every human being has its own unique set of beliefs. It has its own unique structure, and it functions in a particular unique way. The structure goes back much further. The function depends on the new incoming information. When my structure, the whole of me, via my energy field, gets new information, every day the human field changes all the time, like the clouds and the atmosphere. When that information is compatible with the structure that I've made, I feel good. I'm in balance, life is easy. When it's not, life is difficult, the function has changed. If I don't stay with it, it may even break. It's not compatible. I can do a little while, I can take stress. Stress is incompatible energy. The conflict, fighting. I can do that for a while, put all my energy against it, and I resist it. If it goes away, it's fine. I like heat. I like warmth. I function a lot better in a warm environment. So winter time, really not my time. But I can go out in my shirt sleeves in the winter. I can do that. I don't have to immediately put on a coat if I want to put the trash out or whatever. It's easy. I can do that. But if I stay out there too long, once the cold hits my system, in other words, once I've used up the energy that I've got and I've burned it, I can no longer protect myself, and I completely seize up. I get internally cold and I stop functioning. I can feel that. It's a very, very precise point where it switches and the structure can no longer sustain itself. So, what are we going to do? Or what can you do? Your consciousness. Your consciousness is the only weapon you've got. Information around you, the world around you, will change. Change all the time. Some bits you will like, other bits you won't like. The bits that you like are the ones that are compatible with your structure, with who you are. The bits that you don't like are not compatible with your structure. Right? Don't forget, every human being is a unique set of structures. So, don't try and make the outside world compatible with your structure, because that's not good for other people. You will always destroy other people in doing so. So if you have an economic system that goes, these are poor people, what we do is we give them work and opportunities, and we give them money, and we give them, that comes from somewhere else, and you therefore create an environment that is not good for other people. You cannot change the outside world, the outside environment, to suit everybody. Simply put, right, if you're going to give the Jews a piece of land that they can call them their own, you take it away from somebody else. Because somebody else was walking on that land before them. Simple, right? And we do this all the time. We can't do anything else because we're individual different structures. So, don't try and change the outside world. It's not going to work for you. You're always going to end up against resistance because other people feel that this is not working for them, this is not right. So you end up with a lot of different political parties, and you can vote for whoever you like, but it's never going to satisfy the population. Can't be. Okay, so if I don't need to look at the outside world, What can I look at? Look at yourself. Don't try and change the outside world. A, you don't have the power. 2, it's never going to be good for somebody else, so then you have to feel guilty because you hurt somebody else. But you do have some power over your own life, some power over your own life, and at least, you know, the only person that you're going to hurt if you get it wrong is yourself. Good luck with that. Okay? I say some power over yourself, because the things that happen to you as a fetus and the early days of you being a baby, I'm not saying that you can't change it, but I can guarantee you it's extremely different. So, let's just, for argument's sake, say that you can't change that. But a lot of other stuff you can. But you need to change, what you need to change is your energy system. Not your body. Your energy system, the inflow of information. What hits you the deepest, what affects you the deepest, are the channels from your energy system that go the deepest into your physical system. That has the most powerful impact. So, how do I know and what can I do about that? First, consciousness. Become aware of who you are. What are your information channels? What is the stuff that affects you the most? And then don't look outside and say, yeah, but if you stop doing that, then I would be a lot happier. It would make life a lot easier for me. Stop doing that. When you feel an impact from outside, at that moment, turn around, look at yourself and go, why are you doing this? Why are you so mad? Because no. Where does this come from? Because what you're feeling is the effect of your opinion. If you believe that when a Muslim scratches his head, it is a signal for a bomb to go off somewhere, you know, that is your reaction to an opinion. Everything is your reaction to an opinion. Your opinion is fixed in your system for most of the things. So we think it's normal, because to us it is normal. Yeah? Simple example. If somebody starts shouting at me, starts insulting me, and I get angry, that's normal. Of course, you've got the right to get angry. You know, things he was saying to you. You know, sure, you've got angry. No. What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, here's something happening. Something is happening. Turn around, look at myself, and I go, I get angry. Yeah, but there's a reason for it. There's a reason for everything. You get angry. How do you feel when you get angry? Oh, I can't eat anymore, I can't sleep anymore. Oh, good. You feel that good, do you? Okay, carry on if you enjoy it. No, I don't care. You're the one who's suffering. You want to change it? Then look at, you're getting angry. And that angriness has effects. Physical and mental effects. You like them? Carry on. You don't like them? Stop getting angry. Yes, but then he's got to stop. No, he doesn't have to stop anything. You have to learn to stop, to react. To use your ingrained opinion. Stop it. Don't use it. Why? Because I don't like the effects of it. Okay, if you don't like the effects of it, then don't do it. Yes, but that's not easy. Hey, whoever said it was easy? You know, is it that easy? Not to sleep anymore, not being able to eat anymore, getting wind up, having a heart attack? Is that easy? Who's responsible for that? Yeah, he did. No. You got angry. Stop that. Stop the effect. The effects are there for you to learn. But you need, the first thing you need to do is to observe the effect. The reaction that you allow yourself to have. So you become aware of your reactions. Once you become aware of your reactions, and you get used to this turning around business, yeah? First of all, our consciousness is directed outwardly. Why? Because we have to survive in the outside world. Good idea to actually look at the outside world. Nothing wrong with it. So that's where we first, and that's what we've been used to, look at. So when something happens there, and then we feel the effect coming from inside, that's the moment to turn around, to look at the effect, and not at what we think is causing the effect, because that isn't the cause of the effect. Give a stupid example, right? Because we've been talking about, think about the atmosphere and the clouds and everything else. There you go, right? The atmosphere out there. The sun is shining. Oh, I'm happy. Oh, I like the sun. No, sun is shining, I'm happy. That's great. But what that entails is that if in a minute the sun disappears and starts to rain, I become unhappy. Does that suit me? No, I don't like feeling unhappy. Well, then stop making the connection between what is out there and what is in here. And how do I do that? By observing. I go, the sun shines, I feel happy. That's a difficult one to then turn around and go, why are you happy? Don't do that. Stop being happy because of. That's a difficult one, but you'll learn. Try the other end of the scale first. Yeah? It rains. Oh God! It's so dark in here, I can't go out and, the dog needs walking, I need to go to the shop now. I'm soaking wet and oh God, and I'm stuck here and nothing to do. Stop it. Turn around and go, what are you doing? What effect are you experiencing here? Don't want it? Stop it. Make a choice. Choose your effects. Choose them. Don't let them happen. Choose them. First, you have to become aware of them. Two, choose them. When you do that regularly, something strange happens. When the sun disappears and it starts raining, all of a sudden you notice that you no longer are angry with the sun. You're no longer regretting the fact that it's raining. You go, okay, different circumstances. Okay, what do we need to protect myself against the rain? How can I function when it's raining? How can I function? Carry on functioning. When there's somebody standing in front of me, shouting at me, insulting me, calling me everything under the sun, how can I carry on functioning? Because I've made the choice to smile. And I notice the other one's getting more and more angry, but that's not my problem. I just keep on smiling. I've made the choice of the effect. I've not let the effect rule my life. If I carry on doing that, do you know what happens? My opinion changes. All of a sudden, I no longer have the opinion that when the sun shines, I'm happy, and when it rains, I'm unhappy. I no longer have that opinion. I have the opinion that I'm happy. Whatever. You can do whatever. But you can no longer steal my happiness. So, to make appropriate choices, as a result, of watching the effect of your deeply ingrained opinions. You don't need to tell yourself that you do not have these opinions. Live with the opinions that you have. It's okay, because everybody's got opinions. Everybody's got limited scope. That's okay. Have a look at whether that scope is serving you, doing you a favour, or not. If it's not doing you a favour, turn inside and find out why. And then you have the freedom to make the choices that are necessary to put yourself back in balance. In your consciousness, or use your consciousness as a filter, to filter the incoming information and to stop responding to it in an automatic way, a learned pattern that is there to preserve your life, to make sure that you survive. But once you know that you're going to survive, you have a choice. You have a choice. Yeah? You can say, for instance, I'm not a fighter. I don't want any fight. I don't want any conflict. I don't want any blah, blah, blah. Yeah? But I can tell you, you can live with that opinion. But I can tell you, once you get confronted with somebody who's actually, squeezing the life out of you, you will respond. You will fight back. You will do whatever is needed to try and get out of that situation. Why? Because your automatic pattern will not allow you to lie down and take it. That's survival. But once we live, once we survive, you have a choice. And that choice determines whether you're in balance or out of balance. In other words, whether you're healthy or diseased. It's that choice. It's not the outside world. It's nothing that you take in or possible to take in from the outside world that will keep you in balance or that will disturb that balance. It's your response to whatever happens. You can be diseased eating organic food, and you could be healthy eating non-organic food. It depends on the choice you make in your response to what you're taking. You have the power, you have the last word in this whole sequence of vibration, responses. Filter it out. But look at yourself and change the way you stand in the outside world instead of wasting your energy in trying to change the outside world. If you come to a point in your life, sideline, if you come to a point in your life where you make a definite decision that your outside world needs to change, otherwise you die, right? Don't write a letter to the Prime Minister. It won't do anything, right? There's one solution. Pack a suitcase. Go. Find an environment that suits you better. Because there are all kinds of environments within this enormous human field. That's the way to change your environment. Yeah? That's the way to change your environment. But most of us are fixed in a certain place, in a certain job, in a certain whatever. So, change yourself. Change your reaction pattern. Become aware of it by looking at yourself and make your choice instead of following your automatic ingrained pattern. Thank you.
What I've learned over a period of time is I've reversed it. If someone is angry, I never get angry. I always say, you're right to your opinions. And and leave it at that.
You keep it outside.
Yeah, they then, you passed it back, and it gives them room to think,
Yeah.
because you've reversed it.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
That's the only way I do it.
Yeah.
You're right to your opinion.
You keep giving
Yeah.
me that, so that it doesn't touch your
It doesn't
button.
touch me, yeah.
Exactly right.
I can do that.
How much power have we got over the poisonous information, like chemtrails, radio waves, all these waves, a nuclear
Yeah.
bomb blast?
You can worry yourself to death, right? But if you're looking for answers, to me it's simple, right? Chernobyl blows up. So many years later, there's still people living next door to it. So it kills everybody. No, it doesn't. It kills the people that are afraid. Those people were offered to be moved out, but they refused. Their reasoning was, we're born here, we grew up here, this is our house, this is our garden, what will we do anywhere else? No, we're not going anywhere, we stay. And they don't worry about what is lying in their field of vision. They carry on their life, and that is, they make a choice. And they go, okay, that's out there, just as you say, that's out there, okay, keep that.
So the instant reaction was death. As soon as you become aware of it, and you make that choice,
They make a choice.
you start to overcome
And
it.
they make a choice to stay there, not to die. They make a choice to stay there to live, because that is the only life that they know, and they stick with it.
So this is relevant in Japan at the moment.
This is relevant in Japan too. And so we can overrule with all kinds of this is bad for you, and oh, this is going to kill us, and this is going to kill us, and fine. Unless you make a choice.
All the animals move back.
Yeah.
Birds will all move back.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yep. It all comes back. Life comes
Come
back.
back, yeah.
It's never completely destroyed. If you, this is where my thinking starts to change. Right? As a doctor, you train to learn everything about diseases. Yeah? That's the purpose of the whole thing. Learn everything about disease. And there came a point where I started to realize that if you look at dead bodies, diseased bodies, if you look at people's lives that are being destroyed, then you learn an awful lot about being destroyed, being ill, but there is no way you learn anything about being healthy. If you want to know about health, you need to look at people that are healthy. If you want to know why and how somebody survives cancer and moves cancer out of their life and never being confronted with it again, you need to follow those people. You don't need to follow the ones that die. Because the only thing you learn there is how you get to death. Because that's the road they're taking. Or rather, if there's one guy that survived a nuclear attack, right? That's the guy I want to follow. I want to know how he's doing. How am I going to learn that? By following him. Not by cutting up bodies and going, oh, look what happened here. And it doesn't matter what happened there. I want to know what's happening with him. How does he survive that? Yeah? So, that is the switch in thought. Okay, you can get that information, you can follow them, you can reason it out, and you can know all the poisoning and all the this and all of that, what they do to the planet and what they do to humanity, and that's all fine. But ultimately, I need to survive in that world, because they're not going to stop because I asked them to. I've tried. It doesn't work. Yeah?
There's an old saying that before we do it, we're deciders.
Yeah.
Because what we do is based on our opinions, what we've brought up,
Yeah.
our beliefs. So we're always deciding. Now, if you decide that this isn't going to affect you,
Yeah.
you've made that decision.
Yeah.
So you strengthen
The
your
problem is that we've lost sight of the fact that
there is that choice. And you do make that choice.
Yeah.
As you say, always decide. But your choices are made from an automatic computer. It comes automatic. Just like your computer, you press a button and the computer decides which pop-up to show, right? But you do have a choice. You can alter that either by going into, the program writing, but there is a simple other way to alter it. See, alterations on the computer program for dummies. I've noticed that if I don't want a certain thing to happen all the time, and I change it to what I want it to happen, and I keep doing that, after a while, takes a while, but after a while, my computer changes his mind. And he brings up, that's what I wanted. Doesn't work for everything, but there are things where it does work. So, the point here is, we need to, this is the awareness, we need to become aware that you have that choice. Once you have that awareness, you can actually consciously make a choice, as opposed to, you go, I can't help it. No, not when you keep looking to the outside. When you look at the inside, you can help it because you become conscious of the fact that there is this brief moment of choice. Oh, a little trick to experience that, right? That you have got that choice. Anything that happens to you, anything. Somebody comes in and asks you a simple question like, do you want a cup of coffee? Don't go, oh yes. Why? Because you drink coffee and you don't want to disappoint that person and you go, yeah. Anything that comes your way. Before you answer or before you do anything at all, you stop and you slowly take one deep breath in and out. And then you respond. And then you answer. It has two effects. One, it slows your system down. It opens up space. Yeah? So you're not rushed. Nobody can rush you now. Oh my God, you need to come now. You go, yep. I'm ready. Yeah? So nobody can rush you. Two, you open up space. And what happens in that space is you feel your initial response. This damn bugger, why is he disturbing me now? What is he coming in here for? Just sod off. But you're still breathing, so you can't say anything. You're not allowed to. You're still breathing, and then you think, well, maybe he doesn't know any better. Or maybe, oh, it's not his fault. God, he does that. And all this goes in your mind on this one breath cycle. By the time you've finished it, you've made up your mind. A, on how you're going to respond, what you're going to say, the content, and B, how you're going to do it. You may still be angry, but by that time you've calmed yourself down and you've formulated your anger in a way that it doesn't disturb anyone. One deep breath in and out before any answer. If you keep doing that, the world, your immediate surroundings, will slow down too. They will get very impatient to start with because everything is now. Yeah? Or as we say, yesterday. But when you consistently don't do that anymore, they will wait. They will wait for your response. And then you notice that you have that choice. Is it okay for me to be angry? Do I want to be angry? How do I want to express my anger? Because you've created that space. There's lots of things that go on in your mind. When you just take one breath. It's amazing. Try it. Okay.
This last one, connecting the two, obviously that explains why you can't reason with children when they're young.
No, don't reason with them.
I always do that, but I always wondered why.
Tell them how it is. I know it. You know, certainly these modern mothers, they feel very bad about having to reason it out with the child. No, tell them how it is. Okay, you can prepare a child, you can give them some reasoning, but limit it. Yeah? For instance, or just an example. Okay, what are you going to wear today? How does a child know what it's going to wear? No, it really does. You may think it does, but it doesn't, you know. And it's trying to figure out what mum would like. Yeah? And then depending on the moment, it will actually go with that, or it will oppose it. Yeah? Don't do that. If you want to engage a small child in making decisions, you want to train them in that, then go, what do you want to wear today? This or that? It has a choice. Yes? But at least it knows what it's looking at. So, but reasoning with a young child, it's useless. They're just soaking in your energies, and they're trying to figure out from that what it is that they need to do.
Rudolph Steiner said you couldn't really reason with a child until the age of 7 when they were cutting their first teeth.
There you go. Okay, so that's the only one.
The second part of that question, does that mean because children are only absorbing at that age and they're not as conscious of giving out, that the diet is more important and the physical environment?
No, the diet is not important. It's the energy that goes with the way that you feed the children. That's an interesting thing because a lot of children, when you look at young children, when you look at what they're eating, a lot of parents complain that they're not eating the right things. You know, and then all of a sudden they will not eat any vegetables anymore, and they only want burgers or whatever. You know? If you provide the choices, but you don't put any pressure on it, and you try to learn how that child is structured, instead of pretending that you know what is best for that child, because you're now, as a parent, you're on the outside of that child's world. If you observe that child and you leave it, but not leaving it with its, not going, oh yeah, he only eats chips and burgers, so, I mean, that's what we're providing with, and otherwise he won't eat anything. No, there's always other stuff, it's there. And they keep choosing the same thing. If you watch them, and you let them, you'll notice that it'll go for so far, and then something happens, and it's usually not at home, it's somewhere else, where these people don't know that they only eat chips and burgers, and they've eaten something totally different. And you go, how did that happen? Was it nice? Oh yeah, it was really good, Mum, it was really good. Yeah? Okay, you can have some more then. Oh great, and they're off, and they're eating something different. It's because that system is still building, and it can't build everything at the same time, so it builds certain parts, and it requires certain energies for that. And what they're eating, the way they're eating, how they're eating, is an expression of that.
Because I know with my eldest daughter, you're a first-time parent, you don't know anything. And we try so hard to give her good food, give us like energy behind it, get attention behind the good food.
Yep,
And
that's what happens.
Played out in later life.
Yeah.
Not happened with the younger kids, because we have learned.
Yeah. But that's what happens, and you'll eat it, and you'll sit here, eat another bit and another, and one for daddy and one for, and yeah, fine. You can play the game up to a point. There needs to be some pressure. Just realize that too, Taking away all the pressure of small children is not a good idea, because they go and run around to find out where the limits are of their world. Put the limits firmly there. And then when they grow up, you just expand it bit by bit. So they need limits and they need pressure. We all need pressure. When I need something doing, or when I need to do something, I go, oh, that's not until next month. Oh, you know what? I'll go and sit out in the sun. I don't care. Next month. You know when I get things done? 2 days before. That's it. You know, because then it comes into my consciousness. Now I've got used to that. What I do is, I just write it in my diary, and the only thing I do is turn the page, and I go, oh, tomorrow is, oh yeah, okay, so I need to do that tonight. You go, what? Yeah, but you've got tonight and this one and that. That doesn't matter. Yeah. If it's 1 o'clock before I finish, it doesn't matter. It's done. Why? If I've done it a month ago, this is my experience for myself. The way I am made is my structure. If I've done it a month ago, and I was happy with that a month ago, if I look at it the night before I need to use it, I'm happy with it, and I redo it anyway. So I cut out this bit, and I go, start the day, 2 days before, the weekend before, whatever it is. Close to it so that the pressure is on. Young children also need pressure. It's the pressure that will actually form their structure. If the pressure is too light, the structure will not be defined properly. It will be too loose. Okay, thank you very much.
Can I just say, we don't want any donations. When I say if anybody wants any donations, get some off it. You can buy a plastic book or whatever. Get something. You can buy a pen from the UK Post.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So if you want to donate to Patrick's bus fare, buy something. Get something to take with it.
Maybe if you write me that book.